Wondering what this display is all about? The answer forms the topic of this session. Yes, we are going to discuss on the topic LCD liquid crystal displays. The presentation outline for this session would be we will start with principle of operation of LCD, then now we will move on to the types under which we will discuss about dynamic scattering type, its construction and its theory of operation. Next we'll move on to the other type which is called as field effect type. We will understand the construction of that type and its theory of operation. Then we will know about the types of liquid crystals, the advantages and disadvantages of LCD, applications and the comparison between LED and LCD. Liquid crystal is a form of visual display in electronic devices which consists of a layer of liquid crystals sandwiched between two transparent electrodes. LCDs do not generate light energy but simply alter or control existing light to make selected areas appear bright or dark. Liquid crystal displays, shortly called as LCDs, consist of an array of tiny segments called as pixels that can be manipulated to present information. They are display devices that use polarization of light to display images and objects. Have you seen the nature of jelly or a soapy bubble? Yes, they do flow like liquids, but they do have properties of solids too. So these liquid crystals have been called the fourth state of matter because they have certain crystal properties normally found in solids yet flow like liquids. Here is a short animated video to give us a picture about liquid crystals.
Quite fit perfectly into one of these categories, like Jello, not exactly solid, not exactly liquid. Liquid crystals are this way too. They can flow like liquids, but they have some properties of solids. They maintain orientational order, meaning the molecules are mostly pointing in the same direction.
The principle behind liquid crystal displays are when an electric current is applied to them or given to them, the liquid crystals tend to untwist. They use the light modulation property of liquid crystals. The light modulation property is the ability of liquid crystals to affect the path of plane polarized light. There are two different types of liquid crystal displays available. One is called as dynamic scattering LCD, the other is called as field effect LCD. We will try to understand their construction and their theory of operation. Now we will discuss the basic construction of a liquid crystal display under dynamic scattering type. ஸ்க்ரீன்ல பார்க்கறது ஒரு pneumatic liquid crystal biasing எதுவும் கொடுக்காம இருக்கிற ஒரு raw liquid crystal display. இதுல பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா a thin layer of liquid crystal of thickness 10 to 20 micrometers is encapsulated between two glass sheets. ரெண்டு glass sheetக்கு நடுவுல சாண்ட்விச் பண்ணிருக்கோம். நம்ம முன்னாடியே சொன்னதுதான் principle of operationல when electric field is given to the liquid crystal display, the liquid crystals tend to untwist. இல்லைங்களா? அப்ப அதுக்கு ஒரு provision நம்ம கொடுக்கணும். To enable application of an electric field across the crystal, a transparent conducting material is deposited on the inside surface of each glass sheet and the conducting material forms the electrodes. In the electrodes என்ன பண்ண போறோம்? We are going to give an external voltage. எப்ப கொடுக்க போறோம்? When we require or when we desire to alter the molecular structure of the liquid crystal. நம்ம முன்னாடி சொன்னதுதான் liquid crystal display na என்னது? So they are tiny segments called pixels. இல்லைங்களா? Right. அந்த pixels தான் அந்த tiny segments தான் என்ன பண்ண போறோம்? We are going to etch it as patterns on the electrodes. Right? The electrodes are going to be etched in patterns or in individual accessible segments. And the tiny segments are individual accessible segments that can be selectively energized to create a desired display. Right? Okay. இப்ப இந்த electrodes எல்லாம் இருக்கு பாத்தீங்களா? அதுக்கு என்ன மெட்டீரியல்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ண போறோம் அப்படின்னா we use either stannic oxide அல்லது indium oxide. This slide shows the dynamic scattering LCD operated with some bias. You could notice that in the region where no electric field is applied, the rod-shaped molecules, that is, the liquid crystals, have the common alignment in the direction of the field. When the applied voltage is increased, the flow of the liquid crystals become turbulent and the molecules will start having random orientations. These molecules now cause light to be reflected in many directions. The light gets scattered and it escapes with a bright diffuse appearance. Thus, the pattern that is etched on the electrodes appears bright on a dark background. To put it in simple terms, when the liquid is not activated, it is transparent. When the liquid is activated, the molecular turbulence causes light to be scattered in all directions and the cell appears to be bright. This phenomenon is called dynamic scattering.
However, when an electric field is applied to the liquid crystal device, the molecules try to align themselves perpendicular to the electric field being applied. The charge carriers flowing through the liquid disrupt the molecular alignment, which creates a turbulence within the liquid. This molecular turbulence causes the external light to be scattered in all directions, which results in the activated area changing colors. This phenomenon is referred to as dynamic scattering.
That was the construction and operation of dynamic scattering type of LCD. Now we'll shift our focus to the other type called as field effect LCD. Before getting into its construction and operating principle, we will try to brush upon few basic concepts on polarization. A light wave that is vibrating in more than one plane is referred to as unpolarized light. Light emitted by the sun, by a lamp in the classroom, or by a candle flame is unpolarized light. It is possible to transform this kind of unpolarized light into a polarized light. Polarized light waves are light waves in which the vibrations occur in a single plane. The process of transforming unpolarized light into polarized light is known as polarization. The most common method of polarization involves the use of a Polaroid filter, or we call it as polarizer. Polaroid filters are made of a special material that is capable of blocking one of the two planes of vibration of an electromagnetic wave. We will see a very short animated video to understand this polarization phenomenon.
If we made a filter with slits small enough, only light that is vibrating in one direction could pass through. Light vibrating in any other direction would be absorbed by the filter. This is known as a polarizing filter, and the light that has passed through it is known as polarized light. An interesting trick you can do with two polarizing filters is stack them on top of each other and then rotate one of them 90 degrees. Light passing through one filter is polarized in one direction, but it is incapable of passing through the next filter.
You could notice from this slide, when two polarizing filters differ by 90 degrees, the light gets blocked. Having the basics in mind, we will move on to finding out how field effect LCD is constructed. The construction of a field effect LCD display is similar to that of a dynamic scattering type. It consists of a negative electrode, a positive electrode, and a twisted nematic type crystal inside or sandwiched between these two electrodes. The difference between the dynamic scattering type and the field effect type is the presence of two thin polarizing optical filters placed at the inside of each glass sheet. As you could notice, the nematic liquid crystals have twisted the light and the display is displaying the image accordingly. Now we will see when twisting of light happens and when not with the help of a short animated video.
Of an LCD, we would see several layers. In the back is a mirror or panel that produces light. This shines unpolarized light onto our LCD segment. The first layer is a polarizing filter, which only allows light vibrating in one direction to pass. This polarized light flows through our twisted nematic liquid crystal, where the polarization is twisted by 90 degrees. In front of the liquid crystal is another polarizing filter that's offset by 90 degrees from the first filter. Because the light's polarization has been twisted, it has no problem passing through this filter. However, when we apply a voltage across the liquid crystal, the twisted nematic structure breaks up, essentially untwisting. Now, light passes through the first filter where it is polarized. As it passes through the liquid crystal, it does not twist this time. As a result, the light cannot pass through the second filter, resulting in an opaque segment.
From the animated video, when the cells are not energized, the liquid crystals remain twisted. When they are given a voltage, they tend to untwist. Infer that when the cells are not energized, light is allowed to pass through the optical filters and the cell appears bright. When the cell is given a voltage or it is energized, no twisting of light takes place and the cell appears dull. And this is what we had hinted in the beginning of the presentation. The working principle of LCD is that when an electric field is applied to the liquid crystal display, they remain untwisted. We have just taken a small example, a cell which is in the middle portion of a 7-segment display. As you could notice, when a voltage is given to that particular cell, it remains opaque, which means that it is dark. But when no voltage is given, as you could see it from your left hand side of the slide, when no voltage is given, the liquid crystals tend to twist and it allows light and that region appears to be bright. Liquid crystal cells are of two types. Some liquid crystal displays are designed so that light passes completely through them, while others have a mirrored surface that reflects light back to the viewer. In the first instance, called the transmissive mode of operation, light originates from a light source on one side of the crystal and is altered in the desired pattern as it passes through to emerge on the other side. In the reflective mode, light enters from one side, is altered within the material and is reflected by a mirror to emerge from the same side it entered. This mode is particularly used for small displays such as watches where ambient light is present on one side only. We have understood the working principle and the construction of different types of liquid crystal displays. We will now list down the advantages of liquid crystal displays. The voltages required are going to be very less. They are going to consume less power and moreover they are economical. Now we will list the disadvantages of LCD. LCD are very slow operating devices. அது turn on பண்றதுக்கு it takes few milliseconds. Turn on ல இருந்து turn off ஆறதுக்கு it takes around 10 milliseconds. The second disadvantage being their lifespan is going to be very small. The third disadvantage it occupies a large area. We will have a small comparison between LCDs and LEDs. First, the parameter taken is power consumption. LED consumes more power in terms of milliwatts, whereas LCD consumes less power in terms of microwatts. The lifetime of LED is about 1 lakh hours, whereas LCD has just 50,000 hours, which means that the lifespan of LCD is lesser when compared to LED. The brightness level of LED is far better than LCD. Regarding light, LED has the capability to emit light on its own, whereas LCD needs an external source. Moreover, LCD does not generate light, it just alters its path. Coming on to the response time, LED responds quicker than LCD. LED's response time is in the range of nanoseconds, whereas LCD has its response time in terms of milliseconds. Now we will list the applications of LCD. LCD is usually used as display devices, displays of lab instruments, LCD TV, LCD display of a camera, digital watches and calculators. Wish that this video had been really helpful for you to understand the concepts. If you like this video, please subscribe, share your likes and comments and forget not to click the bell button. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Thank you.